Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today in this video we will talk about the family-based immigration, specifically whenever you're petitioning for your alien relative and the backlog that is associated with the issuance of the immigrant visas. Now for the purpose of this video, you see I have travel.state.gov pulled up in front of me. It's the official website for U.S. Department of State, specifically their Bureau of Consular Affairs section. This is where you can find the most updated numbers, really, whenever it comes to the issuance of the immigrant visas. Now, if you're not familiar with this process, if you are just now getting into the family immigration, maybe you did your research, or maybe you already filed the I-130 and you're waiting and to seeing where the process is, right? And you just want to do the research and kind of estimate of how long it's going to take. This video is going to be helpful for you. Now, this video is more applicable to the process whenever it moves past that stage of USCIS approval. So first, when you submit your I-130, obviously there are a few steps. If you want to see these steps in a little bit more detail, I recommend you checking out a video that I've done specifically on I-130. But basically, to describe this process briefly, you submit this petition, right? First, it is approved by the immigration, by USCIS. Once it is approved by USCIS, it is then transferred to the Department of State for further processing. And this is usually in between those two. That's usually all the wait. That's where all the wait usually happens. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the numbers. We're gonna talk about the backlog, and hopefully by the end of this video you will understand why there is this backlog. And I'm not sure if probably not gonna be happy by the end of this video, because there's a lot of stuff that is weird and seems unfair, and I do get a lot of complaints in comments about this, and it is truth. It is truth. And hopefully, with this channel, with these videos that I'm making, there will be a way to bring this issue to life a little bit more, and maybe there will be something that will be done about this. So let's start with the backlog first, and then I'll explain these numbers, these categories, and these dates right here, because that's really all you want to be looking at if you're trying to understand the timelines of the processing of your petition for your alien relative. So the reason why there is a backlog is because Congress they issued a limited amount of immigrant visas that the immigration services can issue to the relatives that we petition for. And based on the category that the relative is in, and there are a few of them, there's F1, F2A, F2B, F3, and F4. Basically the immediate relatives, and then there is relatives of the permanent residents, and then there's married sons and daughters. I mean, they're still immediate relatives, but in the eyes of the immigration services, it's a little bit further. It gets further down the line, right? And the further you are down the line on that category, right, how they classified you, the longer you are going to be waiting. So the Congress, they issued a certain amount of visas a year. Specifically, as of right now, looks like it is 226,000 visas that are available every year. So let's say there is more than this number, or the total number of the visas that are issued each year in a given year. The extra that is the backlog is transferred to the next year. Let's say the next year there's more people that now there's even more backlog that is transferred to the next year. And the way, the further it goes, the more backlog, the more from the past years these extra applications accumulate, obviously the longer the wait time is becoming. Now, because we've been dealing with this nonsense from the pandemic 2 years ago, 1 year ago, whenever it was, and these visas were not processed for quite some time. In fact, they were completely stopped, completely paused. So the delay, the backlog grew substantially over the past course. So to give you, now we're getting into these numbers. You'll see the old chargeability and the chargeability. Before I get into the numbers, I'll explain that. Chargeability basically is where you are filing from. All right, not you personally, the petitioner, but the beneficiary. Where are they from? And there are a few different categories. You will see there's all chargeability areas except China. So China has their own chargeability. India, Mexico, and Philippines. Now the reason why these four have their own separate chargeabilities, considered as a separate chargeability area, is because of the heavier, bigger numbers immigrating from these four places. So you will have a little bit longer, most of the times a little bit longer processing, or exactly the same as all chargeability. And you can see that with the example in India. For most of the categories, it is exactly the same as all the chargeability, except for the category 4, where it's about 2-year delay from the, just like for everybody else, right? Mexico, however, has some substantial delays compared to everybody else, but that's because the immigration, whenever it comes to numbers, is much heavier from Mexico. So that's specifically for that area. So now you have the understanding of the chargeability. Now you have the understanding of the categories, and I'm going to read the categories so you better understand. So F1 is considered unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens. Now this is where a lot of confusion happens, and this is probably one of those most unfair things that I've mentioned in the beginning of this video that you're not going to be happy about. If you do your research and if you check on usas.gov, which is official government source for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, their official website, you will see that it says everywhere that immediate relatives of United States citizens, there is no wait time for anything at all. There is no limitation on the immigrant visas that are issued to the relatives, to the immediate relatives of U.S. citizens. And then you look at this and you're like, wait a second, why is my unmarried son, why I cannot petition for my unmarried son? Well, you can't petition for your unmarried son, but why does my unmarried son, I'm a US citizen, why does my unmarried son has to wait for almost 9 years? As you can see right now, the final action dates for the category F1, and we will talk about the final action and dates for filing. That's there's a little bit of a difference there, so I will explain it a little bit further in the video. Why there is, as you can see, there's 9 years between, approximately 9 years, a little bit less, between now and the final action dates for F1 category. So if you estimate it, unless the processing speeds up along the way, maybe it will be faster than 9 years. But as of today, as of right now, if you want to estimate how long it will take for you to have your unmarried son, even though you are a US citizen, or your unmarried daughter, even though you are a US citizen, for them to get the immigrant visa, close to 9 years. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense, right? Well, here, I don't know why they didn't specify it a little bit better, but that goes for unmarried sons and daughters that are over 21. Now, it doesn't make it any better because, I mean, okay, so let's say my daughter turned 22 and I'm a US citizen and I'm petitioning for her to come here on an immigrant visa so she can travel back and forth. Why cannot she get that immigrant visa? I'm a US citizen and this is my daughter. It makes absolutely no sense. And that's a lot of complaints that I get in the comments. People saying that this is unfair, and I 100% agree. This is unfair, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be brought to light because it's quite honestly, it's quite ridiculous. But this is the fact. It's there. It's, you know, this is how things are, unfortunately. Okay, so now you understand these dates. Let me give you a little bit of information on the difference between the final action dates and also dates for filing, so you can see the difference between the two. Okay, so the dates for filing, basically that's the dates when you file your petition, right? I-130, petition for alien relative. Once you receive the response from USCIS, the notice of receipt saying that, hey, we received your application, basically we accepted your application. The date on that receipt notice, let's say you filed your application on December 1st. You receive, you know, couple weeks later, the receipt notice with the date December 15th. That December 15th is the date of filing. Dates for filing. That is the date. Dates for filing. So if you're looking at the receipt notice of your I-130, these are the dates that are applicable to you. Now you might wonder why these dates are a little bit longer than these. Well, because final action dates are the dates when your I-130 has already been processed to USCIS, and now your case has been approved by USCIS and it's been transferred to the NVC, and now you have completed everything on the NVC side. Obviously between the two there is some time, you know, 6 months, maybe a year. That is the difference between the two dates. So basically you're looking at, if you have not been approved by USCIS, you're looking at these numbers. If you've already been approved by USCIS and it's been transferred to NVC and you've done everything on the NVC side, you are looking at these numbers. That's why you see the difference between the two. Okay, so now you understand the difference between final action dates and the dates for filing. Now you understand all the different categories that are available. Let me quickly mention what this C means. And C basically means current, and the current processing, meaning that there is no delay at the very moment, is for F2A, which is spouses and children of permanent residents. 77% of the overall second preference limitation, of which 75% are exempt from the per country limit, which is, there is an exemption. Now, I absolutely do not understand why there is the same rule that applies to unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens. It's absolutely ridiculous, because it basically makes it, you are in the process of, let's say, you know, you're an immigrant, this and that, you got your green card, you're a permanent resident. It makes it much smarter and much more, just makes sense to petition for everyone you want. Well, not everyone, but spouses and children, specifically children, as a permanent resident before applying. You would think that, okay, well, you know, once I get my citizenship, it will be much faster. No, it's not. It is not. For unmarried sons and daughters that are over 21, for whatever reason, it's not. So definitely keep that in mind, and hopefully somebody who's watching this video, it will help you. Also, again, with this video, I'm kind of hoping that this kind of comes up a little bit more to light, because this is clearly an issue. This is clearly a serious issue. Something needs to be done about this. I mean, if you look at the numbers from other countries, especially Mexico, this is just a disaster. So with that being said, if you want to encourage and promote legal and healthy immigration, right, these numbers are discouraging. You know, somebody who's going to look at that and say, what? I have to wait 22 years. 22 years as a US citizen. I have to wait for my son or my daughter to get an immigrant visa. That is nuts. Let's just say that. The most polite version of saying that. So now you understand what the backlogs and why they happen. Now you understand the difference between two dates that are available. There's more information that you can find on these pages, these pages, and I'll explain why I say these pages. Basically for the employment. We're not gonna talk about the employment in this video. We're specifically concentrating on the family immigration. But the reason why I'm saying these pages is because Visa Bulletin, that's what it is. And you're probably familiar with Visa Bulletin. You probably heard it if you are dealing with family immigration. But this Visa Bulletin, or these Visa Bulletins, are issued every single month. So right now, the most updated is from March 2023. Now, sometimes, like I said, you might open it in April and you will see the numbers speeding up, right? They're catching up. Or you might see them slowing down. Hopefully they will be speeding up because now everything is open, everything is working. But again, with that kind of being said, don't be surprised if they are growing longer. Why? Because there's more and more applications. Each year, the application numbers are growing. So a lot of programs that I've mentioned it in several videos already. A lot of programs that were open for the past year, 6 months, like for example Uniting for Ukraine. They at first there wasn't a lot of people who were aware of these programs, so the application numbers were low, so they were processed much faster. And now, because there's more and more each day, the application numbers growing. Now they are processed slower. The backlog is forming, kind of the same thing as here. So if there is anything that is unclear in this video, let me know in the comments below. Every other day, at least twice a week, I try to make videos. They're labeled by volume. It's a separate podcast on this channel where I go and I answer your comments one by one in the video, and then the video goes live and you can ask me the questions live in the chat. So if you want to see that, ask the comment, and then make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification, because I go through all of them, and when I reply, in the video, I reply in the comment as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Always appreciate your time. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.